Black privilege is getting worse by the year. And by worse, I mean they're getting more bold with their schemes and their actions. I do find it pretty funny, though, when you have those interviewers on the street, they go up to a bunch of black people, they're like, you got 100 fish, and 13 of the fish cause half of the problems. What do you do with those 13 fish? Almost every time the black people say get rid of the fish. Black people, you're lucky we don't have the same mentality of you. Otherwise, y'all'd be gone.
Black privilege, these people are so delusional. And then he went on to lie, talking about some interviews that he see black people do, talking about, oh, if 13 fish in a pond were creating problems, what would you do with the 13 fish? I ain't never seen that a day in my life. All y'all do is lie, scam, cheat, and steal, grape, and pillage. Y'all literally, anything that you come into contact with, you have destroyed. You all are the most destructive people on planet Earth. Talking about 13%, you all are only 7% of the world's population, yet you cause the most harm and destruction. You're doing cloud seeding to mess with the weather. You're trying to block out the sun because you can't survive in it. All we want is for you to leave us alone. Y'all just cannot take that you actually have consequence and repercussion for being racist, terrible people, destructive, evil, demonic, and wicked. We don't put our head down and cross the street politely like a house slave when you walk past us anymore, and you can't stand it. It's not about privilege. It's about getting closer to what equality would actually look like. And you all cannot take it. It threatens you. You're afraid. Now you gonna lie at the end and talk about if we were like you, then you'd be going, y'all motherfuckers been trying to wipe us out. And guess what? You can't. You cannot. You have failed time and time again, because we are, I don't even got to say it. We are who we are. You've tried. We are a very representation of the ancestors that survived the lynchings, the burning down our communities, the bombing us, the literally flooding out our communities. Y'all done tried to do paper genocide. Y'all literally put all types of chemicals. Y'all pump all types of stuff into the water sources in our communities. Y'all put all of these bad fast food restaurants and liquor stores on every goddamn corner. Y'all done introduced all types of famine and disease, and we still procreating. Y'all had to create fertilization and in vitro and all of this other shit so y'all can have babies. Through everything, we're still here. Talking about if we was like you, if we was like you, then you would have a motherfucking problem, because y'all done tried and it failed. You would not be able to survive half the shit that we did at the hands of you. Spread love is the Brooklyn way. This fucking delusion, the cognitive dissonance. How dare y'all get up here and try to destiny swap and literally point the fingers when all of them are pointing back at you? You are the very thing that you complain about. And I see y'all in the comment section talking about all the crews, the brawls. I could pull up 100 fucking videos right now of y'all fighting at bars, fighting on cruise ships. Y'all's kids going to schools and power the schools up. So who really is the problem? Just leave us alone. But y'all can't, because y'all are obsessed, threatened, and something is wrong. Psychosis.
Wagwan, my family. Welcome back to my YouTube commentary. Now, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, every single one of you, for the love and wisdom and the fire you bring to this movement. I thank you for the love you show me. I thank you for the wisdom you keep giving me on the comment section, on my email. Some are calling me. I thank for the wisdom. Without you, there's a lot of things I could never know, okay? But I thank you for that. Now, something powerful is happening right now. The world is shifting. It is reality. They said privilege only comes in one color, but today the world is covering something, another form of power. Personally, I'm discovering something, and this thing is that we have black privilege. I am discovering a black privilege. Black people have this privilege. First, number one, we are the first human. It's a privilege. Number two, our melanin, it is, we are privileged. Everything surrounds black people. We are God's children. We are everything. You know, not privilege born of oppression, but privilege born of truth, survival, and spiritual strength. So that gives me a lot of energy as a black person, because the system built on our suffering is cracking. Okay? Black people across the globe are waking up to who they really are, not victims. Okay? But we are the creators, not lost but focused. And this awakening is shaking the entire global order right now. Okay? Now, white folks are worried not because black people are talking or are taking everything from them, But white folks are worried because black people are finally walking in divine confidence. We are realizing that our culture, that our rhythm, and our resilience are the true engine of global influence. That is a privilege. We have the cultural takeover, okay? From Lagos, Nigeria, to Los Angeles, all the way Nairobi, New York, name it. The same truth echoes. Everywhere black people go, culture follows. We set trends, we create sounds, we design styles, and we shape language. And yet, for centuries, they tried to convince us that we were inferior. Now that we know our worth, they call it ignorance. Now that we celebrate our melanin, they call it black privilege. But we know this is, I call it reclamation. It's not arrogance. It's us remembering who we have always been for decades. Let's watch these clips first, and then I will come back here with more commentary.
Black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. For example, black people can go up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did. So what are you gonna do, cancel me? Black people are allowed to say,
I'm a grown man, I got way too much to worry about.
black people are allowed to say that there is a systemic fraud issue within the PP loan application in black America. Black people are much easier to be able to say that black individuals, despite being 13% of the American population, commit 55% of the murders. If most white people say that at a job, they would get fired for being a racist. I don't care because I say whatever I want. So black individuals have much more intellectual public freedom than white people do. If a white person were to come up and say, you know, black America really needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time, and it needs to actually have
why would you
because
just walk
it's
up
true. Because
why would you just walk up to someone and talk and attack their culture from the outside?
Well, hold on, because hold on. Let's look at the evidence. You said to myself, you said there's all these people suffering in Chicago. There's all these people that are terrible. I'm telling you why. It's because there's been bad decisions that have been institutionalized. Let me finish. And rap artists and athletes and people at the top level of black society that refuse to ever challenge the core rot in black America, which is that they are allowing degeneracy and hedonism to eat the soul of what once was a beautiful black culture, and instead they go around saying it's the boogeyman of racism, the white man is out to get you, and the result is black America is doing worse than it was in the 1960s. That is the contention. Period.
It's not just that. It's a culture. It's so much deeper than the present day we are in. I don't know why you're pretending like it just doesn't matter.
What doesn't matter? You mean things that happen? Again, I've been through this multiple times. Let me just ask you
but
one.
You're not listening to understand. No, you're listening to reply.
No, I'm doing both actually. And so, okay. But let me just ask one final question, right? Mm-hmm. Which is that you have your entire future ahead of you. Mm-hmm. When you are hired for a job, would you rather be hired because of your race or because of how qualified you are?
It doesn't boil down to just that.
That's what DEI is, man.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It is definitionally the hiring of people.
They're not just going to immediately see. You
get extra points if you're black with DEI. That's how it works. Racial quotas elevate people based on the color of their skin.
So do you think I got extra points to come here?
I don't know. You said you were qualified, but affirmative action was institutionalized in Harvard and in Texas and a lot of other places. We know this. So I again, TU, we don't like them, right? So, but again, I just want to I want to just repeat this point. Where can I go to work that you can?
It's not just that.
Exactly. There is nothing that is preventing black people from prospering. Nothing. The only thing is that you guys have been hypnotized to be victims of your own mind, to think as if there's a white person out to get you.
One of the great things about being black is when I get to look this cute without using a filter. Because when the sun kisses me, baby, it kisses me.
I will say, I think there's a privilege, I know that sounds crazy, to being, having to do more than us and having gone through so much. I think that we've heard a lot about spirituality. But I feel like because you guys have gone through so much, there's an enlightenment to you. I always feel such a draw and just so seen in a way that I don't feel as much with white people, I would say. So, I mean, I will just say that I feel like you guys are magnets, and I hope that your voice gets heard more, because I think that there has been a lot of trauma of just invisibility and your way of rising through it and still being survivors and stuff. I don't know, I've always felt like it's been super special, And I'm so thankful for the relationships that I've had.
Shit, not the bridge being built. Not the bridge.
I will never forget, let me just say, when I was younger, I will never forget looking over as a young kid and seeing a black man get out of a Mercedes and something, I was like, that's success. And there's just always that vision. And I know it doesn't have to be like a superficial symbol, but there was just something implanted in me as a young kid. And I had a buzzed head when I was young, and I felt like I think I've allowed myself to see that, like, having shorter hair as a female, like I haven't seen myself a lot on, in the media. And I've heard that be a complaint of a lot of other people of not feeling that represented. So I think kind of feeling othered a lot in my own world in just a small way had made me feel like a kinship. And so I think that while there's privilege to being white, I feel like there's another privilege that doesn't get spoken about of actually having to suffer, because those are the people that really know how to like have resilience and rise up and actually listen and just thrive. So
I know that we were just celebrating the bridge you made, and I don't want to tear it down, but I think I had a different response seemingly than the rest of the room to that. I know that you mean well by that, and I can see that you're very genuine. I have a really hard time sitting with the idea that the significant trauma that the Black community has experienced in this country has made us enlightened, and that there's like this beautiful spiritual quality that it's given us, because I think it feels, and maybe I'm just speaking to the way that's landed for myself, like a huge bypassing of how genuinely traumatic that is, to be like, well, look at you, like you're radiant now.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm
saying that like
the way that
you've been through something, whereas like we're over here and who knows how much we've even been through.
Yeah, and like I'm not.
But you've also rolled your eyes at so many people that have been speaking, so I don't know if that's your.
I mean, a lot of really insane things have been said.
I don't know if that's your immediate response is just to roll your eyes. Might not have the best like language with it, but I know that like on a soul level, like I feel I have a lot of awe and respect.
And I appreciate that a lot.
Take it where you can get it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All I'm saying is this idea that somehow having endured what the Black community has endured in this country and coming out the other end, barely surviving, there are people right now who are not surviving, that's somehow a privilege is ludicrous. And like, maybe what you said completely landed wrong with me, but that's how I took all of that, and that's all that's all.
Okay, what is your favorite Black privilege?
My favorite Black privilege is when I went to a Starbucks and I ordered something and paid. And before I left, I got some napkins and put it in my pocket. I was about 17, and the manager followed me out the store and told me to empty my pockets because she knew I stole from the store. I thought it was a joke. I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yes." I emptied my pockets, and all that was in there was some napkins and a pencil because I just got out of school. The part where the privilege comes in is she apologized. She said sorry. So thank you.
Black people have a lot of privilege in America. We can be racist without any repercussions. We can say the N-word while other people are not allowed to say the N-word. We aren't allowed to be criticized, because if we are, then that's people being racist to us. People have to walk on eggshells around us because they can't risk hurting our feelings. The bar has been set so low for us because we cannot do even the most simplest task. And that's all I can think of. Can y'all think of any others? Let me know.
I think Caribbean people, we don't realize our privilege. We are very dismissive of the Black American experience. Oh, yeah, y'all just have a chip on your shoulder. Y'all need to just keep your head down and just work. And it's like, we grew up having Black teachers, Black politicians, Black leaders, Black doctors, Black dentists. Not to say we don't have colorism, classism, and versions of racism in the Caribbean, but we are very privileged. Like, we can walk in anywhere and we're the majority, 99.99999% of the time. So we have a certain sense of security that no matter what, home is home. But for me, coming to the US, like when I go to New Orleans, I love that. I've been there like 15 times. I will be there and New Orleans is like 70% Black, and I feel like I love there. But in some places I'll be there and I'll just see the American flag. I'll be like, it just feels heavier, like it don't fit there.
Okay, so let me just acknowledge Kendrick Lamar did that, understood all the symbolism. I've watched it over and over and over again from different angles. You did that, brother. Now let's talk about something else, Black privilege. So oftentimes we make a little bit of money and we decide we're going to run to the white neighborhoods thinking they're better. Just because it's white doesn't mean it's better. I will say that. But I have the privilege of having my family understand what Black privilege is. I live in a Black community with black doctors, black teachers, both men and women, black politicians, black-owned hair salons, black-owned beauty supply stores. Matter of fact, the only bookstore we have is black-owned. We even have a black party city. Black, blackity black, black, black. I have black privilege, and I am thankful that I chose, no matter how much I am to make or do make, to keep my kids, our kids, I should say, who are both black boys in a black neighborhood that loves them.
Us as black people, and I'm calling out everybody black, we have to create our own black privilege. We have to. It's non-negotiable. What does that look like? I was on a plane sitting first class. There was a little girl walked by me. She had a backpack on. She was so adorable, and she just kept staring at me. And I said, "You are so pretty." And she goes, right, she looked away. I said, "No, you are so pretty." And then I heard her ask her mom, like, about me sitting up front, right? What that means. Her mom said, "Oh, that's first class." And she said, "Mommy, why we can't sit here?" So they're having this quiet conversation.
Right.
They get in their seat. I told the stewardess, "Go get that little girl." She said, "Which one?" The little girl that walked by me. She went and got the little girl. I said, "Listen, you have my seat if the mom's okay with it." The mom was like, "Absolutely." So I said, "She has my seat. Whatever she wants, order it." But my point is, I created black privilege with that. We have to start to create that. White people only have white privilege because they privilege their people. We have to start seeing our black people and privilege them. Yeah. We have to do that. That is something I'm calling out every black person to do. If you got a penny or if you got $1 million, figure out once a day what black person you can privilege. I don't care if it's your neighbor or if it's a family member. Please do that.
When the world starting using the phrase black privilege, it's not just a social comment. It's a sign of a system losing its psychological grip, okay? Because for centuries, white supremacy functioned like a religion, okay? It taught its followers that whiteness meant purity, especially, superiority, purity, superiority, intelligence, and leadership, okay? So it also taught the rest of the world that blackness meant danger, ignorance, and failure. And that lie became the engine of global control through colonization, education, and even religion. But right now, that engine is breaking down. Why? It's breaking down because truth spreads faster than propaganda in this generation. You can't hide knowledge anymore. There is internet. You can't erase ancient Africans' contribution anymore. People are reading. You can't convince a generation raised on information that they are inferior. We know we were a descendants of kings and queens, okay? So the myth of white superiority is collapsing because it was never based on truth. It was only based on fear and manipulation. And when the false structure of superiority collapses, something powerful happens. They start projecting their fear onto those who are rising, okay? And that's why they call it black privilege. It is not a privilege they are seeing, but it is confidence they never expected black people to have, okay? Think about this. The same system that once punished a black person for reading a book, they are the same people who now fear a black person who writes one. When a black person writes a book, they fear. But they feared us reading books, okay? The same system that once mocked our culture are now profiting from it. They can no longer control the narrative. And that's what is shaking them to the core right now. Okay? And I'll say this. History has a strange way of repeating itself. But this time, the energy is reversed. In the past, they used words like lazy, angry, uneducated, or undereducated to define us. But because what they are witnessing is not arrogance. What they are witnessing right now, it's awakening. We are waking up as black people, okay? They are watching black people who no longer think or who no longer shrink in white spaces. Black people who are building their own economies. They are watching black people who are no longer begging for validation, but they are demanding equality and building without permission. And that's why this term black privilege is really a defensive reaction. It's a way to reframe our healing as a threat. It's an attempt to make us feel guilty for finally loving ourselves. But let's call it what it truly is. Black restoration. This is black restoration. We are not asking for a seat in their a table anymore. We are building our own tables with our own recipes, feeding our own people. And that's why the fear sets in. Because for the first time, they are realizing that they are not needed for us to rise. Let's pause.
62, 64.
That independence, that mental liberation, and is what they call privilege, okay? But family, it is not privilege. When you are earned, or when you have earned it through pain, when you have earned something through pain, through blood, through generation of trauma and struggle, it's a divine correction. That's not privilege, okay? When you are getting things in a free fare, that's what we call privilege, okay? And I want to talk about the mirror effect. The mirror effect is the same people who criticize black confidence are the same ones who imitates black culture every day, okay? Every day they are imitating black culture, okay? They say black privilege, but they spend billions on black music. They spend billions, millions, billions on black hairstyle, on our fashion, on our language, on our dance, on our slang. They say black people are privileged, yet the global entertainment industry survives on black creativity. So it is deeper than just imitation. It is energy transfer, because deep down, they know that they are something, or there's something sacred, there's something magnetic and original about blackness, and that cannot be duplicated. And that's why they both love and they fear us. So they have two things. They love us and they fear us. They love our rhythm, but fear our truth. They love our culture, but fear our consciousness. They love our creativity, but fear our clarity. They want the beauty of blackness without the burden of black history. They want to dance to our music. They want to dance to our beats, to our drums, but never face the beatings that came before the beats. And right now, when black people finally walk in our fullness, when we carry ourselves with pride and we demand justice, they call it privilege. No, family, that's not privilege. That's not privilege. That's not privilege, okay? That is reversed, or it's a reversal of energy. Reversal of energy. This is centuries of oppression finally bending towards balance. It is rebalancing of the world right now. So, being honest, white society was never prepared for confident black people, or they were never prepared for black people who are confident. The system was designed to keep us grateful for crumbs, but this generation right now, we are not grateful for crumbs. We are claiming the whole bakery, okay? They are terrified because we are not reacting out of trauma anymore, but we are responding with strategy, okay? We are not shouting for attention. We are building networks. We are building communities. We are building global platforms. Look at what's happening. Black creators are owning the media. Black thinkers are rewriting historical truth. Black inventors or investors are funding black startups. Black parents are homeschooling their children about the truth, about the history and everything. So that's what scares them. The end of dependency. Because once the mind of the oppressed is free, the system of the oppressor becomes useless. And this is the stage we are in right now. The global black awakening is not just about revenge, but it's about resurrection. So when they whisper black privilege, just smile. Because what they really mean is that black people have finally realized that they don't need permission to be powerful. So this is not privilege. It is power rediscovering. I'll say that. And allow me to fix the focus to my home. Allow me to fix the focus to Africa. No, Africa is the motherland. It's the mother of civilization. It's the heartbeat of humanity. It's the soil that holds the memory of everything that lives, everything divine. Now, we talk about black awakening. We must understand something powerful, that it all begins and ends with Africa. Because for a number of years, the world propaganda machine worked overtime to convince Africans that we were powerless, to convince us that we were inferior, that we were poor or we are poor, to convince us that we are chaotic, to convince us that we are behind. But the lie is collapsing every day. Every night the lie is collapsing before our own eyes. Africa was never poor. Africa was robbed. We are now realizing something, that Africa was never lost. Africa was targeted. Africa was never weak. It was invaded. Because those who rules the world right now, they know one secret truth, that the strength of black people worldwide is directly connected to the state of Africa. Okay? So if Africa rises, every black man and America, or every black man and woman on earth rises with it. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Young Africans are waking up. Young Africans are rejecting puppet leadership. We are questioning fake democracies. We are exposing Western exploitation for what it truly is. Modern colonization. We are watching a new generation of Africans who no longer ask themselves or see themselves as victims of health, but as authors of the future. Okay? You know, Africa holds 60% of the world arable land, and we hold over 30% of the world minerals reserves. Okay, so more than half of our global supply, for example, half of global supply of cobalt, gold, and rare earth minerals, they come from Africa, and yet the world still calls Africa developing. Developing what? What are we developing? Developing for who? The West needs Africa resources more than Africa needs Western aid. And that's why every time an African nation begin to rise, they destabilize it. They use media to paint it dangerous, unstable, or corrupt. Because a conscious Africa means the end of global systems. But things are shifting now. Africans youth are saying that we know your game. We are building apps right now. We are creating new currencies. We are learning our history. We are rewriting the story that was buried under lies. And the West once comes for our gold, but now they fear our mindset, because the real revolution isn't physical. The real revolution is mental. It is realization that Africa was the teacher of the world, not its student. Okay? And that is what's happening right now. The classroom of history is being reopened, and the teacher has returned. Again, what gives us plus is the return of the diaspora. Now let's talk something here prophetic, the return of diaspora, because for over 400 years, black people were scattered across the world. They were stolen, they were sold, they were separated from the roots. But even though that the spirit of Africa never left us, but it lived in our music, in our rhythm, in our struggle, in our language, in our soul. And today, the spirit is calling us back. Not just to the land, but to the mindset. We are seeing more and more black Americans, black Caribbeans, and black Europeans traveling back to Africa. They are coming here. They are buying land. They are building homes. They are starting businesses and reconnecting with family. Okay? And they are saying enough is enough. I'm not a foreigner in my own history. And this return is bigger than tourism. It is spiritual restoration. It is prophecy being fulfilled. Because in every sacred text and every oral tradition, there is one truth, that in the end times, the scattered children will return to the source. And that's what's happening right now. Black people around the world are realizing that Africa isn't just a place, but it is a frequency, okay? It is the mother heartbeat that the world tried to silence, but could never erase, okay? And when the diaspora reconnects with the continent, a divine circuit completes. Energy starts flowing again. Wisdom begins circulating again. Power begins multiplying again. And that is the ultimate nightmare of white supremacy. The global black unity that breaks their economic control and ends their cultural dominance. Now, family, listen here. If there's one thing Western world fears the most, it is an economical independent Africa. Why? Because their wealth was built on our weakness, black people. Their prosperity was born from our poverty. Their systems run on our stolen resources. So just imagine the day, okay? Imagine just the day, there's no more IMF, no more World Bank, no more dependency. Imagine Africa trading with Africa. Imagine Africa pricing its own gold. Imagine African nations creating a single currency backed by our own minerals. That's when the world shifts forever. That's when black people everywhere, in America, in the Caribbean, in Brazil, in Europe, start walking taller. Because when Africa rises, the psychological chain on black identity everywhere breaks. So that is the true meaning of black privilege. Not arrogance, freedom built on unity, and freedom built on self-determination. And when the Western world knows it, that's why they push distractions, hate, entertainment, and division. They want us to forget our roots because they know very well that if the root heals, the tree grows unstoppable. Okay? But we are remembering, we are awakening, we are reclaiming what's ours. It is our time. And this time, no force, no earth can stop it. Allow me to finish by talking about the spiritual blueprint before I close. Because Africa is not just a continent, but Africa is a living library of divine wisdom. From the pyramids of Kemet to the kingdom of Man, the teachings of the donjon, to the shrines of Ifa. Africa carried knowledge of the stars. Africa carried knowledge of the medicine, metaphysics, even long before colonizers even understand the art. And that's why they had to destroy it, because true knowledge makes people free. Okay? But here's the beauty. Knowledge never dies. It only sleeps, and Africa is waking up again. Our ancestors are whispering through the wind of revolution, and our youth are remembering it now, and we are reacting, and we are doing something. Our leaders are slowly finding courage to stand tall against the imperialist puppets. You know that? Tell me what you think in the comment section about this video. Until next episode, peace out.